So yeah, and we stepped up the ranks. Next thing you know, again, opening act for guys like Busta Rhymes, MOP, Onyx, Wu-Tang, like, cause especially in the city, which was St. Petersburg in Russia. So yeah, you started doing that. You're gigging every weekend, probably make $200 a weekend, 500 on a good one. Yeah, so you'd make some money. So yeah, so I started hustling that way because medicine wasn't paying because I was still I was still studying and things like that. So I needed a way to earn an extra
and some money.
Yeah, be more than a student, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And my mom's is those ones of you fail, you'll see who's paying you.
Yeah.
Your
So
fees.
that was not an option.
Yeah. So it's like failing was not an option basically. And then I just think I'm a good multitasker. Like I said, good. I know how to hustle my way through things. So I managed to do the music, managed to do the medicine, never failed. Yeah.
And so you come back after the 7 years now, right? So you get back to Kenya. Now you're on on the pursuit of becoming a well-earning doctor.
Now that's the thing. So now when I was doing my final year, so sad. That's when I actually started, asking myself, so how much do doctors make back home? Because I did
your last year.
In my last year, that's what I was asking myself.
So you had a plan to study medicine, come back to Kenya, but you had never asked yourself.
I never asked myself how much a doctor makes because I already knew, based on society, based on the Western media,
it has to be money,
and based on the doctors out there and what they drive, and the schools their kids go to, that you have to make money as a doctor. Yeah. So I assumed
there's money.
So then when I was in my 6th year, I started asking a nurse, and I was being told it's like $300 at that time. That's what doctors were making. They're making like, I think, 30K to 40K.
Start
as a medical officer, when you start off now. Before, of course, you become a specialist. So I was like, what? Like, I was trying to make that make sense. Yes. Because I was like, I get paid $500 for 45 minutes to perform. Yeah. And you're telling me in a month, after 7 years and 7 million, I'm going to be earning 40K a month. I was like, it doesn't make sense. So that time I even went through some stuff. I was like, okay, maybe I need to stay here or I just do this music stuff and
put the doctor thing on the side.
But yeah, of course you later learn that that's how you start, and it's career progression, and when you become a specialist you earn much more money and things like that. So I was like, okay, let's go back home and then we'll decide. Yeah.
So you come back home. What happens then? Are you're then, if I'm not wrong, you become an intern at Kenyatta National Hospital. So you start getting paid this 30 to 40 G's at that point.
I wish it went that easy.
Yes.
God willing, I end up having one of the best restaurants in Kenya. At the same time, I want to be able to have brought other people up with me. Yeah. And that's my vision, money-wise. It's because that's not cheap. You have to have money to actually bring people up with you. Yeah. So that's actually my vision.
Okay. Yeah. And so at this point, when you're done with A-levels, right, and now you're making the decision to go and study or whatever it is, do you think about the potential amount of money you can make in the culinary space before you make that decision?
I mean, definitely. I mean, actually, that's a hard question. I feel like I didn't think about the money when I was making the decision, because I feel like when you start out in the culinary industry, there's not that much money. You will work and work and work, but the money doesn't show itself for quite a few years. Right. So you'll find that even, let's just take the example of the local market. Someone who's, climbing up the ranks, they don't really make money until you look at the executive chef or the executive sous chef who is making maybe 5-6 times more than the person under them, So when you're going into the industry, I feel like it's more of a passion thing. Yeah. And I don't think I went into the industry knowing that I'd make money for about 10 years.
Yeah.
When I came back, I applied for a job at a very well-known hotel company.
To be an executive chef.
To be a sous chef, which
Sous
is,
chef.
let's say, I'd say 2 or 3 levels below
Okay.
the executive chef. And funny enough, the person who referred to me to this job was from my friend from Spain. So they were leaving the country and they were like, come apply for this job.
Right.
They told me what to expect, what to ask for salary-wise. When I gave my expectations, the guys were like,
Would you give us a range of this
So-
expectations
so-
of what they want? Yeah.
my friend told me I get accommodation, my visa is paid for, I get transport, and my salary is 400,000. This is sous chef level.
Right.
When I went for the interview, the guy was like, so we'll give you 75,000. I was like, for the exact same position, my friend is the one who has referred me.
And you have the exact same qualification.
Exact same. We're in the same class. But then when I come to apply for the same job as a Kenyan, I'm being offered 75,000 shillings. And I found it so ridiculous. I actually told the guy, but thank you so much. It's been real. I'll pay for I even paid my bill for my food. I was like, just to show you that I'm not begging for this money.
Right.
I'll pay for my food.
Right.
And then I went around and I actually realized it's a huge thing, because even executive chefs in big hotels, they earn, I'll give ranges,
Yeah.
between 1 and 2 million per month.
An executive chef who's not from Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I think maybe it's opened up a bit, where the few Kenyan executive chefs who have really proven themselves have actually managed to break that cap of 1 million plus. Which I'm saying there are like 3 people in the whole of Kenya. But there are very many places where before a Kenyan goes in, the person who was there before them was earning 1.2 million. The Kenyan goes in, they're being offered 350K.
Move from high school, go to university.
Yeah.
And then you say you start working as a bartender. Was that out of necessity?
Yeah.
Did you want the skills or?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool job, but I remember my second semester of my first year of university. So I was we didn't have, this is in 1992.
Yeah.
So people weren't emailing each other things. So I went to the housing office to get my housing documentation for my next semester.
Yeah.
And the housing lady said, "Oh, we have a fax from your father." My parents had moved back to Kenya at this point.
Okay.
So I was in university in Florida, and my parents had moved back the same year to retire here. And there was a fax from my dad that said, "Hey, son, just to let you know, can't afford your college anymore. Either get a job or drop out."
What?
Yeah. I'm like, cool. I'm glad it came to this complete stranger into my hands, you know? So, I mean, I thought about it for a while. Like, do I just drop out and
Then come to Kenya.
join
as
the
well?
military in the U.S.? I mean, I could have done whatever anyone does. It, you know, the Army and the Marines and the Air Force offer a lot of these sort of post-high school. And then I decided, let me just go and see if I can get a job in a restaurant. So I did get a job as a waiter, and I immediately, within 2 months, I was behind the bar, which is like the prestige position. And all of a sudden, I was making, $400 or $500 a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I can pay for university. I can pay for an apartment.
Was that your first job? Is that your first?
No, my first job was at McDonald's. I lived in my car for 2 weeks as well.
What happened that you had to live in your car?
I couldn't afford the housing. So I'd made enough money to pay for the university and the books.
Yeah.
And I had to work an extra 2 weeks to pay for the housing. And
So for those 2 weeks, you were
I was
living in your car.
and showering at a friend's. dorm.
I've read Tyler Perry's story as well. He talks about living in his car. What's living in your car like?
It is. You want to talk about demoralizing?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't talk from a level of demoralized. I mean, there are people that have it much worse. Don't get me wrong. I mean, at least I had a car to live in, right?
Yeah.
Living on the street. But it is probably the most demoralizing. Like, should I really continue with this life? Conversation you have every time you sort of close that car door to go to sleep. You're like, am I really supposed to be here? You know what I mean? Like, this is awful. Funny enough, my aunt reminded me about this a few months ago. My aunt Gina, we were having lunch in Naivasha, and she reminded me that I remember calling her, and I called her. Those days it was like payphones.
Yeah.
And I called her. And she asked me if I was okay, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And I think about 3 months later, I was here visiting, and I broke down and told her. I said, no, when we spoke, I was living in my car, but I didn't want to tell anyone.
Yeah.
And she got so mad at my parents, you know. And I was like, no. That's why I didn't want to tell anyone. You know what I mean?
You know, also the uni teams also entice players to come through to play for them. Like Strathmore, I think they give guys good scholarships. Yeah, and they're able to rope in very good young players.
Yeah.
And those young players now, after playing for Strathmore, they go into the different clubs.
Yeah.
Depending on which club they would like to play for.
Yeah.
Again, you have teams like KCB who came out of nowhere, and then you know, right now they are the biggest club in Kenya. You know, in terms of them and KCB. I mean, sorry, Cabras, not KCB. Cabras, Cabras now. Yeah, a team in Western, and you see, like, most of the very good players are also playing in Cabras. It's because they came with a different structure. They came and offered jobs to players. And they were paying them on a regular basis. So they made it seem like the sport now was heading towards some semi-pro kind of league.
But so essentially you're saying that the financial outlets for, I guess, a rugby player would either be you play for the Kenya Sevens, either you try and make it to the Kenya Sevens team, or if you're playing at club level, the club's sponsors then offer you a possible position or a job where you're working.
Yes.
And then if for those people who are playing for university teams, via scholarships to pursue whatever degrees they're pursuing. But ultimately, would it then be a fair assumption to say a lot of the rugby then that's played is purely from passion and there's not too many financial
and
incentives?
that's how it has been in this country for quite some time. Even the old school guys, the old guards will tell you they did it all out of passion. You know, and but many of them also ensured that they were going to school and made sure they got into professional jobs, because many of those older senior players who are no longer playing, the veterans as they say, got positions in different companies here and there. I guess also rugby taught them about teamwork, and you know, because there's very many values you get from playing rugby. We can talk about those another time, but yes, I'm sure that many of these rugby players from these different clubs back in the day got into positions where they could also help the younger generation coming through, and some of them tried. So but at this point in time, yes, I feel like many young players think that they are entitled to get, you know, paid by clubs, because many players would go into clubs saying, hey, so what am I getting offered in that club? And which is not a bad thing also, because I mean, sports should go that way, you know. Players should be able to be drafted here and there, you know, switch clubs, depending on who would like them. But back in the day, it was mainly out of passion.
Okay. So in your estimation, what would be a low ball offer and what would be out of this world?
Again, it's hard to say. I think if you own the means of production, so you own a studio, then what you're charging for is time. So the rate, I think, that is fair for the best, let's say medium to good guys, $50 to $65 an hour. So now how many hours is this project going to take you? Again, if you're good, like me, I'm good. I don't charge $6,500. I don't charge $65 an hour. I charge much higher. But I deliver much sooner. Again, because I'm good. But other people charge at the hour. So $65. I think right now I got a quote from SA. Someone was charging $65 per hour. They're charging 5 hours. That's the number. But that work, tomorrow you have the work. But my number is higher. It comes to, I think charging for creative work, what I believe is you charge, this is for my formula, direct costs, so that you cover them, brand value, profit. That's the math. So if you can figure out it that way, it's good. But pay scales, that's what it is.
Okay. And so at this time, you get the windfall, you clear your debt. Then what do you do with your money then at that point?
I savings, always good. And then at the time, I also had an opportunity to go work in the States for a while.
As an architect, as a musician?
Writing code.
writing code.
Yeah.
How did that come up?
You know, that's how I worked out of debt. I learned a lot of skills.
Yeah.
The other thing that people wanted around that time, that was a lot of websites. So you needed to learn how to make websites because people were really interested in websites. So I found some YouTube videos, and a good Indian man taught me
How to
write CSS, and how to use WordPress. And so I was making sites for people.
At a CFO level, in this country, what are people making? We've had what doctors make. We've had what bankers make to some level. We've had what chefs make as well, and we've had what rugby players make. So I'm curious, at a CFO level in this country, what is someone making?
It's one of the most frustrating things because even when you're trying to negotiate a salary, it's hard to peg. In the US, I could tell you, depending on the city I was in, I can tell you what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Here in this market, it will range anywhere from
200
a month
Yeah.
to 5 million and everything in between. It's the worst market to negotiate a salary because you don't know. So what I usually say, if you're negotiating a salary, peg your value. And I'm very good at pegging value. What is your value? This is my value. This is what I want. Because think about navigating that spread. It's pretty big. 20,000
20,000 to 5
to
million.
5 million.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It
And you could
varies.
be you're doing the same role.
It depends now on companies,
Yeah.
size, and all that, but it's not the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the value that you bring to the company.
Yes, so you look at the value and you look at, so as a CFO, if you're coming to whether a beauty, I don't have 5 million to pay you.
Yes.
However, if you're going to one of the big banks,
Yeah.
they may.
They may.
So those are the things you need
you're looking
to
at.
take a look at.
I ask myself, dude, you need to be serious. What are some of the things you can be able to do, even to give you a 500 bob? And that time I remember the lady at the bank gave me a till number. That was my first till number. And I started listing down the things I could be able to do in one of the mirrors. And I wrote down 9 sources, some within my capabilities, some that require a bit of capital. And one of them was being intentional about helping people navigate their financial situations. Whenever I'd go on radio, I used to do it for free. So I put a price on it, you know. And coaching basketball. I'm actually a certified coach.
Yes.
And I started looking for opportunities, which I got. And with a little till number, you know that they will not take your car if there are payments in between the month. And within 3 months, that's how I got rid of my loan.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realized is that sometimes we look outside ourselves, but within we have different things that can be able to help us generate this income. And for me, that's why also for people in my personality, I just don't look at savings. Savings may only get you up to a certain point.
But you need to
being
generate.
offensive, you need to generate. You need to be on the offensive. You're not Mourinho.
Okay.
You can't park the bus the whole
The whole 90 minutes.
Yeah, you can't.
And on this 3-month period to sort of finish that loan, what's the amount of money they were talking about at that within that 3 months? Like, how much is it to clear that
I
loan?
remember it was about 440 something.
That was the balance.
Yeah, that was the balance.
Okay.
And so you want to maintain some humility of some sort. I don't know what it was, but nobody was really talking about it.
When you look back now, when you think about your, I guess your current account, what's a ludicrous amount of money that you had in your current account, which right now you do different things with?
I don't know whether I can answer that question. I don't know whether I can answer that question. What I will say, no, I cannot say that either.
Yeah.
There have been ludicrous amounts. I wish I had access to someone like this institution, you know, where I could put it somewhere. There are people who can manage it on my behalf and guide me on this journey, when to divest, invest, whatever. I wish I had done that. I wish I had bought bonds at that time when they were so accessible and cheap, to be honest, and they were performing very well. I wish I had done all of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your Money journey. Last thing, I guess, in your money journey, what's a lesson, I guess, that you've learned? Or not even a lesson. Actually, let me talk about a regret, because I guess the lessons they may be really. What's a regret that you've had?
In fact, let me give you both. Let me give you both. One regret is just starting earlier. Take that risk. Start that shop. Start doing something apart from your 9 to 5. That is one thing that I wish I had done sooner. The minute you start is the minute you start learning. It's the minute you start growing. It's the minute you start acquiring and you start learning real life lessons. There's certain things that people cannot teach you. You've just got to experience it. That is my biggest regret, not starting earlier.
Okay.
What was your other
lesson?
Lesson.
Yeah.
My biggest lesson would be it's not always about the money. The money will be there, but you've got to have that passion. And I think it's a cliche when people say, do what you enjoy doing. Live your passion. But I feel strongly, because I've seen it in experience, the minute you start living that passion, you start delivering. And automatically all these other things start coming back. But unless you have that passion, that drive,
It's not gonna work.
it's not going to work.
But that's the thing. Like there's some incongruence that people don't recognize about television. Television is very aspirational. So you want people to look a certain way, to speak a certain way, to act a certain way. But in truth, they live very, very different lives than what they actually, portray on Nini. Yeah. So.
But where do you think why do you think there's such a rift? Because if you look at, and let me pick a really out of context example, so to speak. If you look at someone like Anderson Cooper, I believe Anderson Cooper makes 25 million a year. I believe. At CNN. Based on what you're saying, it doesn't seem like that necessarily translates in our context and in our market.
Because there are no parameters for how much value you can drive to a specific brand at that time, right? So all we had were, I've even forgotten those ratings that used to come out every quarter or every year. And those ratings were incredibly subjective. Sometimes people would even pay for them. So you have no objective parameters on how to judge this person's impact on the brands, how well a brand is doing.
Yeah.
Only later on in our careers did we then start to recognize that actually the value that we are bringing to this brand is a lot bigger than what we are being paid for. And that was a real wake-up moment for us. I remember Moa and I sitting down and looking at the ratings, and then they had done some research, and they asked, which are the most recognizable brands in media? And number one was... at the time, Citizen had just passed KTN. So number one was Citizen. Number two was KTN. Number 3 and 4 were Jichopevu and The Inside Story, which were products of KTN. So if there was that kind of recognition that was being driven by a brand that we had literally built up, then we started thinking, then these guys are underpaying us, though they're undervaluing us. And so that completely changed even the way we began to act. I'd say in our latter days, some people might have even thought of us as prima donnas, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to come and start producing, like I'd tell myself internally, producing a bulletin and working and slaving the way I used to, when I know that my brand is worth this kind of value, and I have to invest so much of myself in that pursuit, and I'm still not getting paid my worth. So that kind of conversation starts to happen in your mind. And parts of it are positive, other parts are negative. Like I said, our latter days, I think guys might have thought that we were prima donnas. So we asked for the office, and don't disturb us, we are investigators. We made ourselves look a lot more serious than we actually were mentally. But if you look at the kind of like individualized value that people would bring to an organization, that then now started to justify certain things that would happen that were unfair. Well, not unfair, but unfair. It felt unfair. So you'd have some of these big news anchors being paid a shitload of cash.
And when you're saying a shitload of cash, how much are we talking at that point?
By that time, like if I'm being paid a sock and there's someone who's being paid 6 sock,
that guy earned 6 times more than
Than you, yeah.
than me.